Well, hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us in our parenting series, Conversations We Needed with Our Parents Growing Up. Today is topic number 6, which is about healthy relationships, but it is called Do What I Say, Not What I Do. Which we think is funny, too, because it's not like our parents knew what to say to us about healthy relationship often either.
Right.
Right, but the contradiction was there. So a listener said, my parents would have had to be healthy enough to have had helpful conversations with me. Understanding healthy relationships, they just modeled what they were not.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I know. Yeah. So
Yeah.
things that we needed. Tools, I'll say in session, sometimes when I'm working with a couple or even an individual, but they're struggling with their partner, they'll be like, well, I just tell them not to do that, but they do that. And I say, well, sometimes the room in our head labeled healthy relationships doesn't have anything in it. And so you tell them you don't want them to do that. And then they go to that door that has the information. There's nothing in there. And so, oftentimes we're asking people for something they just literally don't know what that looks like. But because we're, older, because we're an adult, maybe we're educated, maybe we're smart, maybe we make good money. Doesn't matter. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do to tell ourselves that we should know what healthy relationship is, whether it's been demonstrated to us or not. So, but regardless, these are conversations that people wished their parents had had with them. And so what were they looking for? Safety.
Again,
right? Yeah. Often
Yes.
safety, right? Could someone just talk to me? Could someone have, a conversation with me? Yeah. Just thinking about the, they probably didn't have healthy relationships themselves, their parents,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
No modeling. So how do you model something you don't even know how to do? I mean, if you want to think about it, like specifically, like, if you're trying to teach your child how to pitch a ball, but you've never pitched a ball, you're probably not going to show them how to do it very well.
Yeah.
And so, and that's just pitching a baseball, let alone, relationship. Yeah. It is not easy to do. We have to seek out modeling.
Yeah, and I think there can be a lot of judgment, from a parent about, well, you did it wrong. But
Sure.
they're really, when we're judging, we're usually talking about ourselves, right? And so without being able to model how it would have been done better, leaves the child without a whole lot of guidance, I think, and just also shamed and lost, not safe.
Yeah, I was thinking the parent, we all have some level of awareness of the choices that we make. I say that all. It is a spectrum. But, if we have made a choice that's not healthy or helpful for our child, we can have a lot of embarrassment and shame and then avoid. And so then we're not just not having any conversation.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, and it can range from so many things too. It can be financial, for example. Well, you should have saved some money, I guess. Money, while, the kid knows that it's been hand to mouth the whole time they've been alive, or another would be staying out of trouble, not going out drinking in high school, that sort of thing, while the parent is getting sauced every night, right?
Right.
So those are the incongruency creates a lot of uncertainty and anxiety.
Yeah, a lot of anxiety. Going back to the safety piece and that, what can our parents do to do it differently, right? And so, even if a parent feels like they're like at this point in their life, like, how can I possibly teach my child about healthy relationship if I haven't had a healthy relationship?
Right.
Right. Just opening the door to conversation, I think, is helpful. We can teach our children by pointing out, boundaries that maybe I struggled to hold or red flags I failed to see. There's still teaching that can happen even if we're still struggling to find healthy relationship ourselves.
Yeah. And the other is, at age appropriate times to share, be vulnerable enough to share mistakes, and I've sat down with my daughter, because I knew how to budget. I just didn't have the willpower or partnership to do it. Right. So there were many years of difficulty rising from that. But when it came time for her to be out on her own, we pulled up, a budget, worked through it. I talked about the ways that I, would set that up and then repeatedly fail and just said, and I would just be honest and just say, I don't want you to suffer the way that I did. And so you really need to pay attention. And there may be times that you fall down.
Right.
And it's okay if you do. I want you to be able to acknowledge that you have and see if there are steps to take to do it better the next time.
Just effort, right?
And so I think honest conversations that way. And I've been pretty clear about lots of different mistakes I've made with her at this point. She's in her 20s now. You can have more conversations like that. It's more appropriate. It's not so scary when they have a significant degree of independence, right? Which you still can teach them.
Yeah. Keeping an open dialogue regardless of the topic, whether that's, working with some materials together, like, some parents I know do Dave Ramsey types of things together. And so they're living it, but they're also teaching. I think something that comes to mind is, even disagreements. This is something I still hear in the therapy room is, we make sure we don't argue in front of the kids. Yeah. And I'm like, it's just one of those things where we think that's helpful. Yeah. It's actually not helpful, and once we start talking about it, they're like, you're right, that's not helpful. But I thought it was helpful. I'm like, I know, but we're also not teaching our children how to argue except, either by avoidance, misinterpretation. There's a lot of things that can happen. It's not like kids don't feel the argument, even if the argument doesn't take place, right, in front of them, or you go into the bedroom and have a disagreement and they can hear it, but you're not doing it in front of them. So it's like, oh, okay, this isn't something that we talk about. This is something we do behind closed doors. Yeah, and I guess that teaches a lot of interesting things, right? Some shame. Oh, sure. Right, because it should be hidden. Not something we can really talk about. But it's you also need to, what do you teach them? It's just an interesting topic. What do you teach? Because having just a knockdown, drag out verbal in front of the children probably isn't the best end of the spectrum either. And so there needs to be some level of ability to communicate. So what do you do? What do you tell those clients? Well, I think you both have to be willing. Yeah. To try to do things differently. Yeah. I think oftentimes we do have trauma that gets in the way. And our nervous system is dysregulated. And so, difficult for us to, get grounded. I think making an agreement, that we want to do it well for ourselves, for our relationship, for our children, getting support. Again, whether that's through therapy or, taking classes, learning how to regulate our nervous system, I think is the most important thing that we can do. Sure. Because if we can regulate our nervous system, even if we don't have the words that are most helpful right now, we can still say, I don't know what to say right now, but I know there needs to be more conversation. but it doesn't feel like we can do this right now. So,
Sure.
yeah. I mean, again, it has to be partnership. I mean, you have to both be willing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then really it's the non-avoidance, like how do we come back?
Yeah. I mean, you're teaching in that moment
Yeah.
how to maintain relationship, but be able to regulate, respectfully disengage for a timeout.
Yeah. And it's not, and it's not threatening, we'll use, that as a threat, separation. We're trying to make, well, I'm afraid, I want to make you as afraid as I am, or I'm in pain, I want you to be in as much pain as I am. And so, you're trying to teach them that, again, regulating our nervous system is the best that we can do sometimes. And that can be enough in the conversation later, but non-avoidance, I think, is what's really important. When I think about, that greater impact of hiding all of this, avoiding it, or living in this expectation of, the blow up, I think it's very difficult for us to find who we are because we're always trying to negotiate some level of non-abandonment. And so I think, when we don't attempt to model, when we don't have conversation, again, we're going back to safety. How do we find safety if we just can't even talk about it at all? So my request always, have the conversation, get help relationally, keep working on your body, the nervous system regulation. It's complex. It is hard to find people who model healthy relationship. It's hard. So I don't want people to hear that this is easy. It's not. There's books, a lot of books written on what it should look like. Do this, do that, do this, do that. And we're doing some of that today. But even part of the podcast is, how are we doing this? How are you and I showing, even in podcast episodes, when we don't see something the same way, or we have a disagreement about something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is relationship is hard work.
It is hard work. Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we engage in that hard work, we'll be able to better model it for our children.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it will be easier for them.
Yeah. It will still be complex. It will still be messy because we are humans, and we are. But hopefully the road isn't quite as long.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So next topic, puberty, sex, shame, and expression. That'll be a big one.
Woo!
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yes. See you then.
See you.